Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Or if you tune in later and you catch this feed on this live video. So you see my title, it says, Don't Follow Con Artists Who Act Like They'll Save Black Folks or the Black community. And I feel like that is a big problem with African American peoples who blindly follow leaders and they don't have enough background on who these people are and what their agendas and their purposes are. And a lot of times, what we end up doing is the same thing like when you go to churches, you put a lot of your money, money that you worked for all week into these churches, into these people who are now the new preachers. You got this conscious community, and some people are just, giving you some bits and pieces of knowledge, and then some people are, you know, chiming in on some of the political issues that have been going on, but then there are other people who have other agendas. And some of those agendas eventually will come to the light. I think a lot of people are very innocent in the beginning, and their intentions may be forms. They're innocent in the beginning and they want to hear somebody who has knowledge and who can possibly give them ideas, who has some way of resolution for some of the political issues that the Black community faces. And a lot of times, that's why I've said, I think being a leader within ourselves, being able to read, to ask questions, to go out and seek help in your community, find out what kind of things are happening, because a lot of people feel like voting is not enough, that their voices aren't heard loud enough. There's a lot of things that can be done. I mean, like if you look at what happened in Alabama, how a lot of Black voters turned out to vote, and they were able to vote in another candidate other than Roy Moore. And right now, more recently, he's filed a restraining order to block the vote, because he's saying that there's some I believe he believes that Roy Moore believes there might have been some that caused the votes to be altered. I didn't read the article, so you could see I'm going on something here. I'm actually going to pull up the article right now because I was looking at it in the news. They were talking about it. Okay, so I'll just put in his name real quick. Okay, Alabama Secretary of State Moore complaint won't stop Jones from being certified. So he wanted to stop him from being certified. So he asked Alabama court for a new election. And so what his premises is, let's see. Okay, so December 28th. He's a Republican nominee who lost the Alabama vote. Closely watched Senate race this month. So it was saying that he's filed a last-minute legal complaint alleging election fraud. Yeah. And asking that the state not to confirm the victory of the Democrat Doug Jones. So in the complaint that he filed in the state court, Moore's campaign argues that Alabama will suffer an irreparable harm if the election results are certified without preserving and investigating all the evidence, potential of potential fraud. So it cites the rumors of the election fraud that have already been investigated and refuted by Alabama Secretary of State. And he argues that the high Democratic turnout in the key areas was statistically unlikely, and the reports that Moore himself has taken a polygraph test in an attempt to disprove allegations that he had made unwanted sexual advances of teenagers when he was in his 30s. So it goes on and on. It talks about that. So basically, it's election fraud, he claims. And so this is more on a higher plane, of course. This is in the White House, political issues dealing with the state of Alabama. So I don't live in the state of Alabama, but I'll use them as an example. There were a lot of Black voters that turned out, and they were able to block Roy Moore from being elected, and they elected in Doug Jones. So there's some backlash from Roy Moore because of the election results. So he's saying there was election fraud. So, if you really been looking at, some of the articles and things about this guy, you'll see that there were some controversy around his allegations that he was preying upon teenagers when he was well into his 30s. So it's, a lot of people that supported this guy, they were, supporting him on the basis that he had all this hatred towards, certain groups. He said some very controversial things. He's even said that slavery wasn't really all that bad. I believe I seen an article where he had made a statement about slavery not being really that big of a problem. That back in that time, those were the better days. So they're even like on these sites like YouTube, there's controversies. Now, like, the Dr. Umar controversy, him building a school. Now, I'm going to talk about that again because I was listening to, there are some people that have found out that the guy wasn't who he said he was, or he was claiming one thing, and it turns out he wasn't who he said he was. And now if you look on Wikipedia and you look up Dr. Umar Johnson, people can go in that site and they can change things and doctor it up and make it sound more intense, more, like he's more high up there on the chain than he really is. And two, I wanted to add that just because a person has a lot of credentials or a lot of degrees, that doesn't make them somebody that you should just drop everything in your life and follow that individual. They're the smartest person in the world. Because just because he holds those types of credentials, if he even does, he may have some education, and he may have, plenty of education, but that doesn't mean that you have to follow his every word. A lot of people in the Black community get conned like this, and they believe in people blindly, and they have these feel-good speeches. They say the things that you want to hear, and they feed that anger that's already there in the Black community, in communities where people have, like maybe poor schooling or poor housing, or they've experienced some, systemic racism, violence from, maybe they have a harder police department where they're profiled and on down the line. So a lot of times people are looking for resolve. They're looking for a resolution or answers. They're looking for a savior. And I think those days are gone. The Martin Luther Kings, the Marcus Garveys, and what have you. And some people, want someone that is a little more militant, I'm seeing. And those days, I feel like, are gone too. I mean, we do have people who have in their heart that militant fight to withstand a lot of political issues and to fight, tooth and nail on political issues that plague the Black community. And you may have to fight in a different fashion. It's not just, you know, uh, just only protest. You may have to be able to, you know, um, address things in politics with people who are in the White House. And I know people feel like that it may not work, but there are some people that are already in the White House. There are Black people that are in the White House that you may have to be able to converse with to try to see if they can make more changes to certain laws, to certain bills, to certain, now I know some people said that we've already tried things like that and it usually goes the other way, or it goes a whole nother way, or where our voices are never heard, or it's like a big animal and you can't really tame it and it's out of control right now, which it may well be. There's always some people in there who are oppositional of what is going on, be it the powers that be. There's always someone that is close enough to combat what is going on. There's someone there, some bodies that are there. I mean, if you looked at the Omarosa incident, there were people that are in the White House and they know what's going on. They're there. They see what is happening. And they're able to talk to people in higher places than some people who are in these smaller communities can't even get close to. And so it's a possibility that people need to learn how to wait things out to see what people do first, rather than just listen to these feel-good speeches of these individuals who you really don't know that much about them. You hear them and you try to read up on them, but a lot of people can alter the internet and they can go in and add things about themselves that aren't even true. That I just learned of it a couple of years back, that there's some credibility to some of the information, but there's sometimes where, I don't know if you remember this or not, where there would be like, for example, the comedian Sinbad. Someone had I think the Wikipedia post of him and posted that he was dead when he in fact wasn't dead. And his family and friends and loved ones and people were calling and they saw all these posts, and someone had went in there and put that he had passed away, and it turns out that he wasn't even dead. And so that's how easy it is for people to get in and access your information online and make it look like you either have more credentials or you have less of something, or you're this freedom fighter and you've got all this great background, and you could be a killer. You could be, the total opposite of what they've posted in there about you. And I think it's better for people to wait and see what a person's doing, or what their work is. And like I said to a young lady, she got really emotional online, and it was crazy because it was like, I was really lightweight with her. And I feel like I had no intention of getting in a battle or an argument online with people who I don't even really know them. I think it's crazy. That right there in and of itself, when I saw some of the comments that were made, even in comments from like things that I've posted, people, they'll put hateful stuff, and like, you don't even know me. I mean, I don't know you. You may not like everything that I say, and you may disagree with everything that I say, or you may disagree with partially some of the things I say, but that's not going to stop me from saying it. I mean, I try to say things in a way where it isn't too offensive. But sometimes even with that, you never know. Everybody's not always happy about everything. Everybody doesn't agree with everybody all the time and their position or points of views. And so I just feel like some people take things a little too far when they're online. Um, their etiquette is really bad, and they don't have any compassion for people's opinions. If you're going to, I always feel like if you don't like something, what, okay, what is your valid point? Why? And then address it in a way where it's tasteful. A lot of profanity and, going off on tangents and talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the subject. And so a lot of times people do things like that and online, and they get overly emotional, and they're following people who they don't even really know. Um, I seen a couple of videos where this one lady, she was really angry. I forget her name, what her name was. And there's a couple of people that were angry. There's been people that were angry with Cynthia G. There's been people that were angry with this lady. She calls her name Rebel Fox. Um, Now sometimes these young women, they'll post a lot of, they're pretty popular. They have built a following, and they post a lot of controversial things, and they're entitled to their opinions. I don't follow them, and I'm sure they don't follow me, and they probably wouldn't agree with my opinions. Maybe they wouldn't agree with some of the things that I believe in. Um, but I mean, there's some things that they say that, yeah, I could, I could understand their position. But then there's other things that they say that kind of strike the whole thing as odd. I noticed there's been some people that have posted videos in their cars. And this is the thing that trips me out. They're in their car, and they're like really, really angry. And they're yelling at their phone while they're videotaping themselves. And what I'm thinking is, what about the people that are driving past them or stop and see them, or walking past and see them doing this? Don't they think that looks kind of crazy? So I've wondered that. I'm surprised the police hasn't pulled them, pulled over and asked them, what are you doing? What are you doing? Or you need some help or something. And some of these people, you've got some Black people who follow these people, and that's a real big problem. Um, just because someone says something that you agree, or they say many things that you agree on, doesn't mean that that person is someone you need to follow, blindly, and like they're going to save the Black community. A lot of these people, they are getting your money. You're donating money to some of these people, and you don't even know. They haven't even shown you any evidence that they're doing anything positive that is in regard to Black children, to Black women, to Black males, to the Black community, to elderly people. Nothing. You haven't seen any results from these people. All they do is get on these podiums. They receive money, they travel. You know how they're getting this money to travel and do all this stuff? From your donations. You are feeding them. You're feeding their families. You're putting money in their pocket, in their bank accounts. They're taking your money. They're basically conning you. And you're believing these people. And just like there's controversy in the White House, and there's controversy on Capitol Hill, there's controversy in other states in their, political programs. The same thing can happen with even the smaller communities, where you'll have people that'll claim that they're going to lead people, and they're going to open up schools, they're going to do all this and yada yada yada, but you see no action. It's just all talk. And a lot of times you have to wait and see what the person is going to produce. And then when a person says, oh, we can't do anything, we have to do it out of the country, that should tell you something's not right. Because how come you can't? There are schools here, even like in the Los Angeles area, there were some schools on Crenshaw, and Crenshaw is a strip in Los Angeles, and there were a lot of little schools, smaller schools. They didn't have like a huge, um, attendance of students, but there were some smaller schools that had a majority of Black children. And if you raised money to help Black children, how come you have to be so selective and only help Black boys? What's wrong with the Black girls? Why can't you go to a school where they were closing it down because of building maintenance issues, fix that school, and have good Black teachers to go in and teach those kids? What's wrong with that? And then name the school the way you want to. They've already got a school named Marcus Garvey, and I think it's on Slauson and off Crenshaw. But you can name the school something else. It could be an African name. It could be named after the person who fixed the school up. And you can take that school and transform that school and hire Black teachers, pay them, $15 an hour, have a certain type of curriculum and run that school as a charter school. Here in Los Angeles, we had lots of schools that were Black schools that were closed down because of issues where they weren't able to, keep the buildings open, and licensing had the buildings were not fit to have the children in those schools. So the licensing had cited those particular institutions and closed some of those schools down. And so two, they'll also close schools down for low enrollment. And low enrollment could be a number of reasons, because the parents don't feel like their kids are, being taught anything. There's not enough staff. It could be a number of issues. So it's really serious business. I'm in the business of education, so I know some of these things. I've seen it happen where people will open up schools, or they'll claim they're going to open up a school, and you got to have all types of permits. Depending on what area you're in and what location you're in, and what is your need? What is the need in the community? What's your school going to be about? Is it going to be about math, science? Is it general ed? It's a lot of different involvement in that type of area. And it's hard talking to people who don't know, because they are not in the business of education and they don't understand those legality issues. You've got a lot of ignorant people who they follow people blindly just because they have these great feel-good speeches and they're a good orator. Just because somebody talks well, if they're not showing you what it is that they can do, it means nothing what they say if they can't show you and prove that, I don't need the validation of all this following. I can do this on my own. I can go and I can help these people open this school back up in this community. We had several schools that licensing, there's a licensing board where they can close down your school. And it could be for a number of reasons. And it's not because of your skin color either. So I want to add that, because a lot of people will say, well, it's because I'm Black, But a lot of times too, what is bad, now I'll be honest and say this, that there have been schools that were targeted in certain communities. And so it's questionable. And then you can bring in the race card in terms of that issue, because there are other schools who are in other communities who aren't targeted the same way. So that could involve, a racial overtone of, targeting this community and looking at all the flaws with a fine-tooth comb versus another community and not really looking at every little thing, giving them a little bit more time to resolve their building issues. And a lot of times too, they'll pay money so they can get an extension so that they can repair issues that need to be repaired in a building. Like if it's mold, you also have to have the fire department has to clear your building because it has to be up to a fire code. There's lots of things involved. You have to have earthquake insurance, I'm sure, because you won't have a school where kids are there and some natural disaster, wherever the location is, there's always something, many things that you got to consider. So some of these people are just talking all this mess. They're online, they're fighting with people. They don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even know the first thing about dealing with education. They just, oh, well, this guy, he has this credential, he has that credential. There are some people that they've got degrees, but they never even worked in a school. They've never worked in a school. So they don't even know what they're talking about. For people to get on here online and talk all this mess and try to get everybody all fired up is ridiculous. It's just really ridiculous. And I would advise people to not listen to them. Cut them off. Serious, because it doesn't make any sense. I was sitting back listening some of the stuff people have on here, oh, I believe in polygamy. But here, this guy, he can't take care of his own self. If you read the history, I know some of them are going back to that. Oh, in Africa, men had more than one wife. Yeah, but they could afford it. And there was a whole reason for it. It wasn't just because of the sex of it. And so these men are saying this stuff, and these people it's for sex. They want polygamy, not for, I want to take care of 2, 3 different families and I can afford it. They do it because they want to have multiple sexual partners. You can do that. You can do the same thing. Just don't commit and have one lady, you're lying to her and not telling her the truth, and you're fooling around with all these. If you want to do that, fool around, just be single. If you're single, people don't understand. If you're single, you can date as many people as you want and not feel like you're committed to that one, and there's one individual I'm committed to. When you're not married, you can date other people. You don't have to just stick to the one. And see, I don't understand why make it so complicated. Why marry somebody and then go and date other women and then you're married? It's silly. It doesn't make any sense. Just be single. Don't commit to somebody and break their heart and go through all this emotional drama. It doesn't make any sense. So it's like, I know I went on several topics, but it's like this blind following that these people have online. It's just really crazy. It's like people will hear something, and just because the person he or she claims oh, I worked on Capitol Hill. Yeah, and there's so much controversy on Capitol Hill. You might have been a part of it. It's like, why aren't you there now? That's the question. I've seen, some talk host who they've got a little show and they've got a little following. You know how they got that? Your money. They are clever. Of gab. They know how to get your money, get gullible people who don't know any better, who are not well informed, that you are being conned. And so there are a lot of con men and con women out there who know how to talk. That's the reason why they're good con artists. They know what to say. They know how to pull your card. They know how to get you fired up, get you enraged and angry. And then I even heard one guy, he was on here and, he says he's an economist, or he goes to these black think tanks and he has these meetings and he's got these books and all this stuff. All this stuff he's got and acquired. Every time you see him, he's in an airport, he's traveling. He's acquired stuff through conning people, basically. He's good at doing it. He's getting money from book endorsements. He's getting money through his meetings and his feel-good speeches. He's gaining money from the momentum of black males who want to be these alpha males. He's got a following. He's built the following. He's helped other people do the same thing. Black females con people out of their money, basically. And I'm not going to even say the names of these people. You should know who they are. If you don't, you could just pull names out of the hat. These people seem like they have reputable credentials. They've gone to college. Of course, you can have degrees and still be a con artist. They're just smart about doing it. And people sit up there and listen to these speeches, then they pay them money. You see they're traveling, they're showing you all these lovely places they're going, then they keep posting videos and stuff. That's part of their money. That's how they get paid. They get paid from your donations. They get paid, and then they're able to open up and invest and do other things with the money if they get a big following, and if they play their cards right and say the right things to people to get them to sponsor them. Then next thing you know, boom, now this person is sitting on a whole lot of money, and you're still not really making that much money, but every little earning that you get, you're giving them $5 here, $10 there, $20 here. And then if they say something you really like, then you might decide to give them a $50 here, $50 there, or you give them a monthly donation. Basically, you're paying their bills. And it depends on who these people are and what it is that the cause is. If it's helping people, like I know some people are following therapists. They have like webinars and speeches and stuff, and they really are trying to help people. So they're trying to give back. And I don't have anything against them per se, but what I do see wrong is that there are these other people that are out there who claim that they want to save the black community. Not really saving the black community. They're really saving, and they're getting your money and saving your money in their wallet and in their bank accounts. And that's what's going on. And they're not bringing any of the money back into your communities. I have a problem when some black guy comes in the community talking all this mess about how he's going to save the black community, yet he gets in trouble and then blames it on the black community, and then claims that he's going to do something outside of the black community in Africa, where it doesn't have anything to do with any of the little black communities that he came from. So that should tell you right there that somebody ain't telling the truth. Okay, they're not telling you the truth. They're conning you. And so for people to be so silly and so, have this level of stupidity to not see through this is just craziness. Understand that you got these young people, they want to blame people. Well, it's because of your generation. That, let me tell you something. I've seen stuff happen in this new generation. You need to look at your own selves, evaluate your own behavior, what you're doing, because a lot of that you're going to hold your own self accountable. You're going to have young people that are coming after you, and they're going to look at your behavior and say, well, what did you do? You followed con people. Recreate the past by following con men and con women on a video, and you don't even have any proof that these people are legit. So it's just this kind of stuff. This mentality is the reason why that it holds a lot of folks back. That's my opinion. So I don't know what's going to happen in the long run. I just think there's a lot of naive people who they want to hear something, and if they don't they disagree or don't agree with a particular issue or position, a political issue, they want to find somebody to stroke their ego And we've got some ego strokers on here online who they prey off of black anger. And I've said this time and time again, and we've got a lot of people who they use these formats and these different forms, level of you know, whatever it is that they can do to try to gain these people's attention and to build that following to gain access to your money. And like they got all these different sites, what GoDaddy, GoFundMe, and all these different sites where people can gain money or start up, a little following and start their little business, on the outside. Some of it is, some people find it to be interesting. They want to hear the stories. It's nothing wrong with that. But what's wrong is when you got somebody acting like they're going to save the community, building you up to something that is leading you nowhere. And I think that is wrong to do people like that when we already have a lot of issues that plague Black communities where people feel like they've been taken advantage of. And a lot of times we get taken advantage of by people who are the same background as us. And so I think this trend needs to end. It does. It really does. It needs to be put to bed. And it's like, just like some people have uncovered all this stuff about these preachers. The same thing that was happening with these preachers, it's happening in this community where you've got these people who claim that they're spiritual and that they're going to lead all these Black people to, wherever, and we're going to start up our own businesses and blah blah blah, and then you never see anything happen with these individuals. Then that should tell you right there, if they're just talking and they're not doing anything. There are Black owned businesses, there are people who have schools where there are Black students. It's just that these people that are on these sites are on going to these meetings, talking all this stuff. They're not interested in the Black community except but to take their money. And that's it. And so I know that's a hard pill for some people to swallow. Some people are probably going to get mad. They're going to feed this. Well, who are you? Blah, blah, blah. Did you I don't donate money to any of those people. And that's to answer your question right there. I don't donate any money to any of those people because I don't believe anything that they're saying. Some of those people have been online for a long time talking that trash, talking about the white man did this and Black people this, and they're on these little shows, but you don't never see anything resulting from it. Just those videos, and that's it. So I don't even pay any attention to, I hear some of it is kind of comical, if you ask me. It's more comedy than anything. The people who I would more follow are people that you see they have credibility. They're on the news. They're holding protests. They're speaking out. They're in the White House. They're actually doing something. They are actually making waves. People that are actually, they're in communities, they're feeding the homeless, or they're trying to do something, or they're working at a school, a real school, helping children who really have issues and needs. And it's not just one group of gender or one nationality. They're actually helping people, and they may not even get recognition. You may not even know who these people are. They remain nameless. I don't see them online boasting, oh, I do this and I do that and I give back to the community and blah blah blah. Those people, the people who really are doing stuff, they don't feed off of recognition. So people who are into that, want that fame and that glory and that glamour and glitz, they're not sincere. I don't feel that those people are genuinely sincere about caring about the community and what the needs of Black people are. It's phony. And so, with that being said, I know some people that maybe they agree or don't agree with what I'm saying, but I believe that a lot of people are getting conned. Those people who are donating money to these people and you have not seen them produce anything, stop doing it. I would like to see something actually happen before I put my money into it. I just feel like it's sad. It's just you're leading people, it's a blind person leading the blind. And I think it's a trap, and it's a setup, and a setup so that once a person has gotten enough money that they can take that money and run with it. They can buy them a house, do all the stuff that they want to do. They've gained a lot of money off of people's donations. So they're basically living off of yours. I hate to say this, off of people's stupidity and naivety because they don't understand how this works here. You can't just donate money to people that you don't see anything being produced. And if they don't have a history that shows that were a part of something, that should raise a red flag right there. Okay, well then what? It's just like when you go to a job interview, what's your work history about you? Because they're not gonna put all their faith in someone who has no intention of doing anything positive. I mean, that's just fresh out of high school and they're getting a job, you're trying to gain a work history. They understand. They're going to ask you, okay, what were your subjects in school? What school did you attend? What you think that your teacher would say about you as a student? Stuff like that. So it's like, if you do have a work history, okay, well, were you fired from your last job? On your applications, we'll ask you questions like that. What was your work history? Did you get a good evaluation? If this person has no prior background as to doing anything good for the Black community, what makes you think that they're about to do this now? They're inspiring you and they're feeding on your anger and building you up, but they've got all this money, but you still haven't seen anything happen. And now they're in trouble. So I don't know. That's my feelings. Maybe something will happen, but I really like to see people produce something. I like to see people when they are helping and they aren't trying to swindle and con Black people out of their money. But I have a problem with people who get on these sites and they claim they're going to do all this stuff. Like one guy, I mentioned him, you know, he had a following. He still has a following. People were following him. There were Black guys following him. And one Black guy decided to take it upon himself to go to a place and kill two officers. I think it was 2 officers. And he was following this one guy online and actually went to his seminars. And it's crazy because this guy was telling people, we need Black leaders. We need people to go out and fight for us. And then, there are some people, if they have mental issues, they take that literal. And so if you tell people, well, we need some people to fight for us, if somebody has like manic depression or they have some kind of psychological issues or they have post-traumatic stress from the war, and they happen to be a Black guy and they're following this Black guy who claims he's this alpha male and he'll good stuff and stuff to get him all riled and angry, you don't think that he won't act on those emotions literally? Yeah, heck yeah, he will. And so it's going to get a bunch of people, innocent people, killed, and him too. But yet this guy, he was surveillanced and he was talking about it online. I'm being surveillanced. Yeah, you're darn right you are being surveillanced because you were the one that this guy was following. And he was listening. They want to find out if you are the reason why that motivated him to kill these officers. And so this is the kind of stuff that goes on. And so it's really bad. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go and say thank you, and I appreciate it. And um, take care. And I'm going to listen to this video to see if everything works out. Bye.